Good afternoon, I'm Vashan Brown with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. 3 people were shot dead last night in the upper section of Malines Road in a community called Ackee Walk. 5 others were injured in the same shooting. Reports are that sometime after 8 persons were shot. 8 persons were traveling in 2 white motor cars when persons traveling in 2 white motor cars drove through a section of the community firing at residents. When the shooting subsided, the residents discovered that 8 persons were shot. 1, a bus driver, died on the spot while the other 2 were pronounced dead at hospital. 2 of the dead men have been identified as 33-year-old Omar Morris, otherwise called Chase, and 45-year-old Evra Hibbert, otherwise called Buzzer, a bus driver who plies the Chancery to Red Hills route. The other person is said to be a schoolboy who is believed to be about 16 years old. The Member of Parliament, Nigel Clark, visited the scene and appealed for calm.
This is obviously a police matter, a matter that has to be handled by police, and it's important that members don't, feel the urge to take matters into their own hand, as deep and as wrenching as the pain is.
There is a call this afternoon for the boundaries of the state of emergency in East Kingston to be extended. It comes from the Member of Parliament for East Rural St. Andrew, Juliet Holness, who was speaking yesterday in Parliament. The call follows a flare-up of violence in the Bull Bay area.
Mr. Minister, I would only ask, as it relates to my own constituency, that the SOE in place goes a little further from 9 Mile Bull Bay out to 11 miles where the constituency ends, because we still have some pockets of criminal activity up in the hills of 10 Mile Bull Bay, and we are desperately in need of the intervention of the SOE. I can speak.
Mrs. Holness says residents are fearful to even use anonymous methods such as Crime Stop 311 as well as 911 to report criminal activity.
No matter how they come and tell you that they are suffering, that the criminals are preying on them, when you go in with the police to sit down and have a talk with them, nobody will talk. Nobody at all will talk.
The latest now on the coronavirus. The death toll from the outbreak continues to climb in China, rising to 490. New cases have surged by double-digit percentages in the past 11 days. The new figures from China's Health Commission on Wednesday showed that 65 people died on Tuesday and that 3,887 more people had been infected. So far, 24,324 people are known to have been infected. Health experts say the death toll is likely to rise because of the large number of infections. The mortality rate of the coronavirus, which is about 2% so far, appears to be far lower than SARS, which has a mortality rate of about 10%. However, experts warn that they still lack enough data to say definitively how lethal the new coronavirus is. Meanwhile, Canada has confirmed its 5th case of the deadly coronavirus. Officials in Vancouver made the announcement on Tuesday, saying the victim had visitors from the Chinese city that's ground zero for the outbreak. MP for Southeast St. Andrew, Julian Robinson, is again reiterating the need for the High Command to do more to boost the morale of the police personnel. With 7 states of emergency and 2 zones of special operations in effect, Mr. Robinson says the police are stretched.
They are extremely stretched based on the 7 states of emergencies and ZOSAs that exist. Their conditions of work are challenging, being out on the road, away from their families for extended periods of time. And so we have to ensure that mechanisms are in place, not just for their welfare as in food and shelter, but also for their well-being and the stress levels that are attendant with being on the road for these extended periods of time.
And even though the Mobile Reserve section of the Jamaica Constabulary Force has been disbanded, the National Security Minister says aspects of their operations are still ongoing.
Special ops teams are available to operate in different areas and are operating and every parish of our OSP team is an operational, special operational team on the ground as well. The entire reorganization is proceeding, and we'll have men of that level as in operational.
He also gave an update on the Jamaica National Service Corps.
All the graduates of the Jamaica National Security Service who have been vetted have been absorbed in, as far as in both the Jamaica Defense Force, the police force, the correctional service, and a few have gone to customs, passport and immigration center, and other areas.
To news on the political scene now, the People's National Party says it will not be contesting the by-election for Southeast Clarendon. On Tuesday, General Secretary of the JLP, Dr. Horace Chang, hinted at a by-election following the resignation of Member of Parliament for the constituency, Rudyard Spencer. In a statement this morning, PNP General Secretary Julian Robinson described the by-election as unnecessary and a wasteful political exercise. He noted that while the party wishes Mr. Spencer well in his retirement, his resignation has not been occasioned by any personal or national emergency. He says it was rather a ploy by the JLP to settle the political wrangling between Senators Pernell Charles Jr. and Robert Morgan. Mr. Robinson said Jamaicans could not be expected to provide the Electoral Office of Jamaica with $30 million to pay for a contrived by-election. He said that is an unwise move when general elections expecting to cost over $1 billion are due within months. And it's now time for a break, and we'll return right after these messages. Welcome back. Continuing the news now. The murder statistics continue to increase with the killing of 2 women this morning in Mandeville, Manchester. A man is in custody in relation to the killings. The details in this report.
This is 38 Knowles Crescent in Mandeville, Manchester. It's where 29-year-old Shanika Dixon and 35-year-old Lola Mullins met their untimely death about 1:55 Wednesday morning. Shanika, a hairdresser from the community, and Lola, a bartender of Lincoln District, were both inside the house when they were attacked. This window is where it's believed the attacker gained entry to the house. Residents say they heard explosions and called the police. Upon arrival, Dixon was found lying face up on a bed with what appeared to be gunshot wounds to the head. Mullins was found in the doorway of another room, slumped over a table. The motive for the killings is unclear. However, the police believes Shanika's ex-boyfriend, Roland Williams, also known as Anthony or Sammy Boy, could help them with their investigations. It's understood that Mr. Mullins and Shanika had a dispute Tuesday night before he left the house and later returned. Mr. Williams was charged in 2014 with robbery and illegal possession of firearm. TVJ News has since learned that Mr. Williams is now in police custody. He was nabbed in a police operation on the Williamsfield Main Road. Kirk Wright, TVJ News.
And it's now time for a preview of what's coming up in this evening's Health Report.
In the next edition of the Health Report, we look at leptospirosis.
Somehow it is a cultural problem because, people are used to buying some soup here or there. But soup is not really the problem because soup is hot. And so if you're consuming it hot, then it could be pretty safe. But we're talking about the fruit stalls and so on, peeling the fruit, cutting it, and also the fact that there is no proper counter where this is done. There's no hand washing facilities.
That's the Health Report this evening in Primetime News. And now for today's healthy living tip. If you have leptospirosis, your medical doctor may prescribe antibiotic to treat the infection. You should make a full recovery in a few days or weeks. It's important to finish the course of antibiotics even if you start to feel better. And if you have a more serious infection, you may need to be treated in hospital.
News further afield, now we go to the United States, where U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday outlined his vision for the next year, which is an election year, in the State of the Union address. For more on his presentation, we join the CNN.
President Trump delivering his third State of the Union address, one that will likely set the table for his run toward November.
The state of our union is stronger than ever before.
The theme of the speech, the Great American Comeback, focusing on health care.
I've also made an ironclad pledge to American families. We will always protect patients with pre-existing conditions.
And immigration.
The United States of America should be a sanctuary for law-abiding Americans, not criminal aliens.
And national security.
Our military is completely rebuilt, with its power being unmatched anywhere in the world, and it's not even close.
The president laid out his vision for the final year of his first term in office, hoping his agenda will lead to a second.
If we hadn't reversed the failed economic policies of the previous administration, the world would not now be witnessing this great economic success.
But he comes to Capitol Hill under historic circumstances. No impeached American president has ever run for re-election. And tomorrow afternoon, the Senate will cast their votes on the charges of abuse of power and obstruction of Congress presented by the House. Democratic response to the speech delivered by Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, one of the states that buoyed President Trump to victory in 2016, and one Democrats want back in their column this November.
Despite the dishonesty and division of the last few years, and that we heard tonight from the President of the United States, together we have boundless potential.
Time now for sports. The Reggae Girls complete.
I mean, as you know, the tournament didn't end though we wanted, but it's important to stay positive, and we knew that, we should have gotten better results against the other teams, but at the end of the day, that's football, you win some, you lose some, but the objective was to just come out here and show what we could do and, stay together as a team despite all the adversity that we've been through.
Still on the sporting scene, Captain Nicholas Lewin turned in a solid all-round performance to lead St. George's College to a 5-wicket win over Kingston College in their North Street clash in the Issa Grace Shield cricket competition. KC, who elected to bat, were dismissed for 115 despite 53 from Matthew Bell as Lewin bragged 5-4-46. He got great support from Noel Thompson, who picked up 4 for 52. St. George's College then got to victory at 116 for 5 of 38 overs as Lewin returned to top score with an unbeaten 66, while Alex Campbell made 16. Bell also had a good all-round performance as he picked up 3 for 51 for Kingston College. It was St. George's College's 4th win in a row. Captain Lewin says the team is an all-round unit.
We come together and play collectively. We're looking to win this championship this year. Teams have us as a one-man team, but this year it's going to be a surprise because we have youngsters coming in who is doing very well with the bat and the ball and coming in the field.
Kingston College all-rounder Matthew Bell says he's hoping to start converting some of his half-centuries into triple figures.
Well, I have a 76 against Arden, a 90 not out against Penwood, and 53 against St. George's today. Yeah, both of them should have been hundreds, but I fell short, so I just have to come again. We have a lot more games to play, so I can make a couple hundreds in those games.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Vashan Brown. Join us at 7 for Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a wonderful afternoon.